Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's well. I'm Alice Reiter Feld, and this is Ella Furman, and we're going to talk tonight about the new and newest, I'm hearing, restrictions and openings in facilities and assisted living facilities and nursing homes, so that anybody here who either works in the industry or has family in the industry or has friends with family in the industry or is just curious is going to learn a little bit. So let me just tell you, Ella Furman works at Golden Age Manor Assisted Living Facility. Is that in Davie?
Yes, it's in Plantation, actually.
Plantation. She's the administrator there, but she's also the president of the Broward chapter of the Florida Assisted Living Association. So she's very active in the community, and I thought she'd be the perfect person for us to talk to. Hold on a second. We've got somebody we need to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna just chit chat, and at the end you're gonna have an opportunity to ask questions if you want. You can either do it by typing in, by hitting the chat button at the bottom, or where it says participants, you can raise your hand and then I'll unmute you, and you can speak and ask us the questions. Okay, so first tell me a little bit about your facility, so everybody knows who you are and what you do.
My name is Ella Furman, and by my accent you can hear that I'm not
from Brooklyn. You're not from Brooklyn?
I'm not from Brooklyn. No,
oh,
I came from Soviet Union when it was still Soviet Union, and now I live in the United States already for 35 years, but accent never went. So, but I did what I did, what I had to do, and I went to school. We moved to Pittsburgh. It was big community there, and they help us to go through our life as we came as so it's like my beginning.
Okay.
And so I went back to school. I went to Pitt University, and so I got a degree in accounting, as I actually had, and they did plus programming. So everything was fine. I loved what I do. I ended up working for a corporate banking system for many years, and then my mother-in-law, she just she got sick, and I actually became her helper.
So that's how you got into this industry.
Yes, and this is something like I never knew in my life that I could do that, and I was completely like person with numbers and structure, with and actually, believe it or not, it's actually helping me so much, like with programming when they were teaching us to think to build the program. And this has actually helped me even now, because when something happened, like in this case, disaster, I'm calling that as a disaster. And at this point, I just had to figure out, put together all puzzles, because I had to treat my facility as like a hospital. Because,
how many beds in your facility?
I have limited mental license. So my residents actually with different kind of like illnesses, with depression, some with mental issues. But no matter what, we have to keep them safe, and especially in this situation, it was very scary, literally.
So how are you holding up these last 8 months?
Right now, actually, I think we got used to it, and we learned a lot. And but at the beginning, it was scary. I will be very honest with you. I was like trying to keep everybody, like I was like a clown in the house, because I was trying to keep them happy. And but it was just me. But I'm not going to say that it was just me, because should be a team of people. And I decided with my ideas, so I brought my my doctors, nurses, home cares, and they said, okay, we have to set up the plan. And
So tell me what's the first thing that happened? What did you guys do?
well, first thing what happens that we started looking for PPE supply, and being me as a working and being on the board with so I know many people who actually needed more help, and I decided that if I will go and buy, for example, for my just self like 200 N95 masks, it would be like too expensive. So I decided that I'm going to start calling the facilities and see if they wanted to get on the board with me. And I just went on and on. And at some point I started selling, I mean, I didn't even sell it, but it looked like I had the line to get N95. So, and this is how it started. And I decided that everything was like in destruction, literally. And I decided that someone has to be in charge. And then for some reason, I put myself in charge.
I can't imagine why. You're in charge of everything else. So the initial rules were pretty stringent. Nobody in, nobody out, right?
Yes, it was actually very strict, because we made the decision that we are going to shut down. I even shut down my facility even before it came like a mandatory shutdown.
Do your employees live at the facility? Do they go home?
No, actually, in the first few days when it started happening, I stayed over there myself. And my employees, they were like going and coming, but we had so much trainings during the day. It was like so much trainings. I was literally like put my life there to make sure that all my residents are safe, because it's not just residents, it's families, it's employees, their families, friends. And and I was like encouraging my employees. I said, okay, whatever you do, just don't go anywhere. I will buy you everything you want. I went and I started shopping, because I knew that something I have to do to make sure that they don't leave the house.
The people who work in your facility, do they work in other facilities too?
No,
No,
I'm lucky.
That makes it much safer, right? If they don't go from facility to facility.
Right, and I'm lucky in this sense, because my employees work with us for many years. I manage this facility already for 8 years, and some of my employees are working with me since the beginning.
Now you told me you didn't bring anybody new into the facility since this started. That's not good. That's not good for business.
No, we completely shut down. And actually, I told you even before that we actually had to let go a few residents, usually like in a different situation. I would call a hospice and I would take care of it. But since I knew that we are not going to be able to bring anybody in, like as if in case of emergency or something, I didn't want to be exposed. I mean, when I talk me, I mean us. I didn't want any residents to be exposed to COVID. That's why I made the decision that if we are not going to be able to help these residents, we have to let them move to the nursing home. And unfortunately, this is what's happening right now, that many residents who facilities like ALFs, like assisted living facilities, weren't. I am very, very like honest I have to be honest to myself first. I always know that. And I knew that if I'm not going to able to take care of them, I'm not going to able to help them. So
let me just break in, because I meant to say this at the beginning. If you read the newspapers all the time, it always talks about nursing homes. They don't know what they're talking about in the newspapers. These rules apply to all long-term care facilities. So they apply
correct.
to skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities and a couple of other things that are not, well known. But for the most part, if you see something and it says the rules for nursing homes, you have to assume those are the same rules for assisted living facilities. So I've had clients say, well, I don't want my mother in a nursing home. I'm going to put her in assisted. No, it's the same. You have to put them in a good place, where they need to be. It's got nothing to, it's not, it's got nothing to, the COVID could be anywhere or nowhere. You have to make sure that you're in a good place. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's for all long-term care facilities. But most people just lump everything together, and you can't lump it together. Nursing homes a much higher level of care.
I just would like to add to that nursing homes, that's why they got so much exposure, because actually they were getting help much more than assisted living facilities. So we at first had to think what we can do on our own. Nursing homes actually, they got help. They got a lot of help, and then assisted living facilities. For some reason, they always think that assisted living facilities can manage on their own sometimes. Well, even they do help us, but they don't consider us that,
I think the nature of assisted living has changed over the years. I think that when I started being a lawyer many, many years ago, people were not as ill in assisted living as they may be now, different licensing and whatever.
Yes,
So they think you got a bunch of healthy people who just can't hear very well if they go back 30 or 40 years. And that's not the case. People can be very sick in an assisted living facility. But you're right, because all of the problems were in nursing homes, they got all the attention, good and bad.
Right, good and bad. And actually, since you're absolutely right that we are long-term care facilities, all of us. And so all, like all problems started, so God forbid, like 2 years, like some years ago, nursing home, they killed like 11 people over there or 12, and everybody got hit.
Right, everybody's involved. And I tell that to people, the newspapers do not talk about the hundreds of facilities that do a good job every day. The only thing you're going to see in the paper is the hurricane that hit where people died. That's what you're going to see, because that's what
it's absolutely. But in that case, talking about Irma, I decided that even I have two generators, I'm all compliant with rules and regulations. I don't, I can have one, but I have two, and they had everything. And when doctor told me, she says, Ella, it's dangerous. You have to have plan E, even not A, B, C, whatever. And she said, make sure that you're like safe. So I moved my residence to the shelter. So I was living in the shelter for 5 days with my residents. And when I called governor myself, and I complained about a few things here and there. And when someone asked me, they said that we do not appreciate that you had to go to shelter. And they said, you know what, be honest with you, if I don't regret it, and I would do all over, because I'm responsible for my residents. I was there.
So let's get back to, so you when this first started, you and other facilities obviously conversed with each other and discussed what you're all doing. And
yes, I decided to pull everybody together, and literally we were sending emails, we were calling everybody, how you're doing, what you're doing, because we decided to actually put everything together.
So what are you doing? So what are you doing now to keep everybody safe?
Right now?
What's your protocol? You used that word for me the other day. I like that word. What's your protocol?
My protocol, like, for example, like I just will tell you how I would just walk in the building, for example. Is this exactly, so as soon as I walk in the building, if it's doctor, it's nurse, it's God, whatever, I will tell them, go to wash your hands before anything, okay? So then we check their temperatures. They have to, before they even walk in the building, they actually, I don't have, and believe it or not, my visitors, they don't even wanted to go in the building, okay? So they like to be outside.
Right, because they have to do a million things when they walk in.
Right, because, it's necessity.
I'm right with you. I'm right with you. I understand.
They have to take a test, and I say, okay, we have free testing places. You want to see someone, you want to be safe yourself. I always say, I'm not saying that I want my resident to be safe. I always say, I want you to be safe, to make sure that you test it and you know that you don't have COVID. It's nothing, it's no big deal. It's like 20 seconds or and that's it.
Yeah,
so
these are the kind of the new rules when now that you're letting visitors in, these are the protocols for letting visitors in. They have to take the COVID test. They have to wear PPE. They have to have an appointment. They have to sign the waiver, right? They have to do all of those things.
Yes, and I do the same thing. We check temperatures, and if it's temperature a little bit higher than it should be, I say, okay, I know that you're staying outside, so let's drink some cold water and just take like few more minutes, and I will check again. If temperature is high, I will say that I'm sorry, I cannot let you in. And they do understand. They don't understand, and they don't upset. My residents' families are not upset because they know how I treat my residents. That they're my family.
You have a culture in your place that you're not arbitrary. You're doing this for the safety of everybody.
Yes, and that's why they really appreciate my concern.
So we were talking before that there were about a month and a half ago, the governor instituted some new rules, and now you're telling me there's some new rules that are going to happen.
Actually, yes, I just I was preparing for the meeting, and the email came in that right now actually it's going to be families more than not more. It will be 5 people from the family can be coming to the facility, and children will be allowed to go to the facilities as well. But some rules are still.
But there's still rules. There's still rules before they come in, right?
Right, it still will be the same. I would advise everybody just to make sure that they didn't go. Even they can fly right now outside of the but I would even someone flies in, I say, okay, what do you think? Do you how do you feel? Do you feel okay? Can you think you should come, or maybe you can stay like one more day out? Because we have really good help with a little it was like little computers we got tablets, and my residents were talking to each other, to the families, and I when it's on the beginning, I advise families. I called literally every person, every resident, family, and I asked them, I said, please create like collage or some photos and just put in an album. I will do it myself.
So this was to keep the spirits up of everybody in the facility.
Yes, and unfortunately, we always very big on holidays. And this March it was horrible because it was like Jewish holidays. Then it was Easter. And we always traditional. We accept every kind of religion, and I am really open for everything. And we would do Jewish holidays, but unfortunately we couldn't do anything because residents were scared. We didn't know what to expect, and
it was all brand new.
And then they said that you have to sit in the rooms, and my poor residents, they didn't understand how they can sit in the room because some of them mentally challenged, and it's very difficult to explain to the person why he has to sit in the room, and it was very, very difficult. And I had to call Department of Health many times, and I did. And I said, okay, I said, you don't understand. I said, we cannot, we all different people. You cannot think that one person who already understands what's going on and another person who doesn't understand. And when I tell him to sit in the room, he thinks that I actually put him in jail, because he was screaming that he's in jail, and why I have to do it.
Let me ask you 2 things. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure everybody hears what they need to hear. So
sure,
firstly, tell me what you're doing to keep the place clean and to keep the people who work in your facility healthy. Start with that. And then I want to talk about if I came to visit, what would happen. First, tell me what you're doing to keep your facility, clean.
Well, what we did, and this is how we set it up from the beginning, that we set it up the schedules of cleaning the bathrooms. I'm sorry, I have to tell you because this is a
No.
part of
That's the question.
reality. It was part of my life. And we every hour I built like 25 books, literally, like one book for bathrooms, another book for rooms, another book for kitchen. So we had like, and every person who worked there, they had to, every hour, they had to sign the book. And if I wouldn't smell bleach, I would scream literally because I knew that it's something will protect us. So for a while, so what I did right away before even like it started, and I heard that it's going to be, and we still were open. I called a air conditioner company, and they said, okay, what we can do to maybe make it like to protect maybe air.
Better airflow.
Yes, and what I purchased like blue lights, and they're very, very intensive. So, and thanks God, my air conditioner, he's outside. So actually, I have two lights. One light is when it's on, and another light when it's
So
going
that's those are the ones that kill the germs.
on.
Those.
Right, and I did that. Okay, so even if even they cleaned it with the bleach, but since it's actually really, really good. It was a really good flow, so we didn't even feel it. We didn't smell it, which is good. So, and we had a lot of trainings, and writing, because we had to make sure that I talk to my employees. My nurse practitioner would come and talk to them. Doctor would come. So it was like every day we had many trainings, and this has helped us. And I was living there. I was coming at 7 o'clock in the morning before my residents get up, and make sure that everybody are washing their hands. Everybody are taking a shower like 3-4 times a day. I was okay. We have to do it, and they weren't happy. But I said, we have to protect ourselves.
So if someone's coming to visit, if someone's coming to either visit their family member, or in your facility or another facility, they can take a look at these protocols and make sure that they're following them to the letter, that they're doing all of these things that are required, and then the things that they may be doing above and beyond that are not required.
I know, and unfortunately, we didn't get this like good like word. We were getting like people are getting sick, people getting die, but we have majority of facilities that actually were doing so well. Okay,
right.
And
I was
the one who actually we never put they never put us on that blacklist, I will call it.
You were telling me Broward did pretty well considering other places in the state and other things that, you know, obviously.
I know, because I know my like peers who and they were so hard, and we were staying there for like 15-16 hours a day for like the past like 4-6 months actually. I just started right now, like it started flexing a little bit, so we just get into the normal, but normal, it's not normal.
So I have to come to visit one of your residents. I'm doing their estate planning or Medicaid application or whatever, and I have to have them sign some papers. And it's been really hard the last 8 months because we haven't been able to do that. We've had to be very creative in getting something signed. But what happens when I show up? What's going to be my protocol?
Well, your protocol will be the same as any visitor. Okay, so it's I'm not going to discriminate anybody.
Oh no, why don't you tell me what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have.
Well, you will. I will ask you nicely if you can possible take a COVID test for me, and at least like in it, I don't accept to get you like yesterday, but if you will show me that you got it like at least 10-14 days ago, it would be good enough for me. I will make a copy, I will keep it on my files. Then you will come in and you will sign the release, like you're saying. Like
I have to have an appointment too, right? I can't just show up.
Oh yes, definitely. Well, absolutely.
Well, in nursing homes, you used to just be able to show up. Now you have to have an appointment.
No, you have to have an appointment, because right now in this case, we actually everything goes through appointments. And actually, sometimes what happens that we use like Zoom meetings all the time with the families. If I have, like, for example, right now we are allowed to accept new residents, and this is I don't like to go anywhere, and I don't like anybody to come to me neither. To the facility. So we do a lot of Zoom meetings. But for you, in this case, that you have to sign the legal document or something,
Yes.
I will advise you to, if you don't have any, like you have just mask, I would advise you to use gloves. I would advise you to use maybe, like, I have a lot of stuff right now. I bought, like, in March I bought, and I still use it till now.
You're gonna
Okay?
want me to use real PPE, a real gown and gloves.
Yes,
and,
I would advise you to
mask.
use it. Yes, and definitely you will go and wash your hands, and we will take your temperature, and you're going to keep distance. So I will be like the one who will be in the middle of this conversation. Even sometimes it's private, but I'm not going to listen. I will be just like bringing like paper from her to you, from him to. So,
Right.
so you still will be having distance, but you can see each other.
What's the question you get asked the most?
How did we do it? Well, the questions that people really like, who knows me, who knows who I am. They say, okay, like we knew that you're not going to have COVID, but we are lucky. I always say, you know what? It's pure luck. Pure luck, because you never know, you're passing by someone and you don't know. That's
Right.
why I say, God willing, it was good for us, but
No, you go to
not good.
Publix, you could pick it up. You're right. It doesn't, you can't, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
So
that's why I was slapping like all time, for like 20, 50 pounds of stuff for my residents and employees, so to make sure that they're not going anywhere. So I was literally like every day in the store for like, and I was myself in gloves, in the shield and the mask and the goggles. I have everything.
right, we had clients we couldn't bring clothes to, or any of the things that we usually brought to them. It was
We had to wash everything before it would come to the facility. I had to wash everything.
right.
Even for example,
Most of the nursing facilities wouldn't let us bring anything. Nothing.
no, and
Washing
it happens that,
nothing
but
at the beginning.
But one thing is, but what about medications? This is a big part of their lives too, because they cannot stay without medications, and everything was shut down. So what we had to do, we came up with an idea that they will bring me medications, and they will stay in the storage for 3 days, so nobody could touch them. And then, then I would take them myself, and usually we have person who's coming from the pharmacy, and they would do audit and everything, but everything was like we had to do everything. Okay, that's why I had like all my doctors. We made the deal. I called pharmacy, I called my doctors, I called my nurses, and they said, okay, now it's different time, it's a new normal. We are having Zoom meetings, we are having text messages. So everybody, like, for example, if I have 5-6 people on text. So my pharmacy knows my pharmacist, actually. He knows if someone needs medication, and my doctor knows that they need medication, and so they will send right away. So actually I created like that, like, program, because it's helped me so much.
So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to open it for questions. So as I said to everybody, you can either write your questions on the chat, or you can hit the participant and raise your hand, and I'll let you in. But my last question is Ella, what's the lesson we've all learned from this? What do we take away from this big mess?
Well, big lesson is that we have to have a lot of communication. This is a huge lesson, and we have to communicate, and this is what important. I did so many papers here. I did type it so much, to tell you that the lesson is just that we are very strong people. Like we can go through everything right now, I feel, and be human. Try to help. It was so, you like at the beginning, I just wanted to mention a few things that it was so many volunteers who would bring us masks, and who would like, do you need anything, do you want anything, and it was I felt loved myself with all outsiders. Even they couldn't come to the facility, but they were like on the dial all the time. They called me and they said, how you're doing, guys? And it was so emotional. It was like, I would come home at night, I would cry because I don't want to cry in front of my residents to upset them. And I was so emotional, and I had to pull together my employees. That's why I said that I learned that we have to be human in first. And maybe I don't know big words.
No, that's the perfect word. We have to be human, and we have to treat each other like human
with
beings.
respect and kind. You like, everybody was so kind. And unfortunately, I want to say, like, when it was Irma, and people would come when I was in the shelters, they would come to me because they would say that I have medications, and I was like treating them like mama. They actually treat me like mama. They called me mama, and
So I have a question. What if somebody just came in from another state? They just flew in.
okay, so they flew in. They're not going to come to my facility right away. I'm sorry.
That's honest enough. So
what will happen is that they will be like, that's why even till now I have always empty room. Okay, so, and I always say, you flew, you have to be in right now, you don't have to be in isolation for 14 days. Before it was like 14 days, but if they don't have any symptoms, and of course before they come, they will take a test, must. Because in this case, if it's resident, actually, I will accept the person just with COVID test, and it should be done right away. Because right now they have like 15 minutes test, and it needs to be done. And if the family wants to move someone, they have to follow these rules too, because nobody is going to accept them. Nobody wants COVID. And actually, especially if a person is flying from New York, and you wanted to know if he got sick or not. I wanted to know if my, God forbid, mother or
right,
will get sick.
So you would agree that wearing masks and social distancing and washing hands go a long way?
Yes, and
not
yes.
just in the facility. Yes, and yes. Okay, because somebody mentioned that. Have you heard that a lot of people working in facilities have left because they're afraid of getting COVID?
Yes, it's actually happened to us, and it's happened to every facility, and especially when they could go on unemployment and say that they're afraid of COVID. It was a big disaster. And that's why I was living literally there, and my husband was working with me because we were like short-handed and nobody wanted to come, and they had the rights to leave as well because they have little kids in the house, and the kids didn't go to school and they don't want to be alone, and it was a big issue.
So keeping your facility as safe as you do is one way of keeping your staff happy too.
Right, and actually,
which of course
why we had to do bonuses. We had to do all kind of like food. We were giving them food out. We did everything possible, and really, my employees, they appreciate that as well.
I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure they do. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I'm looking. See if I see any hands up.
yes, I'm reading about.
Are your residents eating together in all together? You were telling me this the other day. They're now 2 at a table. You have?
Right, but I had to fight the Department of Health actually, because we were keeping them like for months in the rooms, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all because some majority of my residents, they're heavy smokers, and we had to keep them separate from each other. And some facilities got cited because they didn't have that distance from each other, because they didn't care. It never happened. We don't know what happened. Nobody knew how it's going to affect anybody, especially mentally disabled people. And That's why we had to like I was like, for example, or one of my nurses would take one person out, another person stays another, every 10 minutes someone had to get outside.
So what about activities? The same thing, you would rotate?
Activities, what we did activities. At first we didn't know what to do, like at first, but then we decided that we are going to do like one-on-one activity. So, and of course before we played bingo, it was like at least 6-8 people. Now it's going to be like, I was like screaming, literally I lost my voice because one was sitting somewhere else, another was sitting like, even I have a small facility, but I just was like, like, because I needed
You gotta get a
them.
microphone, Ella. You gotta get a microphone.
I know. Well, I have to. Yeah, I think so. Well, but and now I have again. And now when they started flexing a little bit, now I have an activity person who comes to the facility, and she still does one-on-one. And and sometimes in May, actually, when I started calling Department of Health, Broward County, and I told them that, I said, I am not able to keep my residents in a room. I said, let them out, please, at least one person per table. And I said, I have enough room, and you have to trust me. I said, I don't want to, like, this is my residence. I'm not going to do anything bad to them, so you have to trust us.
Okay, so let's say I have a friend who wants to fly down to Florida and visit somebody in your facility just to come down. They can't wait 14 days to they're coming down for the weekend or something. What's going to be the protocol there? Are they going to be able to visit with somebody?
Well, they will be maybe able to visit. They will get through that protocol, like I will tell like everybody, but they will be sitting outside. And they will be sitting under the shade. Actually, ADRC, they got me beautiful gift, like nice shade. And so one will be sitting on one side. I have nice couch over there. So my residents will be sitting on the couch, I'm sorry. And the visitor will sit in a chair. And we will keep distance. And unfortunately, no huggings and no kissings, unfortunately, still.
But they can go outside. They can stay outside.
They will stay outside.
Hopefully it's going to cool off a little bit. So.
Listen, I always provide cold water, iced tea, orange juice, whatever they like. And if they want to even eat cookies, I will bring them as well. But they will be outside.
Okay, Michael Brody wanted me to say that you are the poster child, that you guys in the assisted living facility have done a phenomenal job during COVID, and I agree. The industry has really stepped up to it.
Oh, he said, Michael, hi, Michael.
Yes, say hi, Michael. I know you know Michael.
I didn't know he's here because
he's here. That's why I said. And we have some people, and Sonia Schenker agrees that you have done a phenomenal job. And why do you think I asked Ella to be here today? Because she is the poster child of doing a phenomenal job. She's on top of everything and knows it, and follows the rules and follows her rules and doesn't break them.
Michael is asking, actually, I'm reading what he's asking. He's asking you, God forbid, I will get COVID in the facility. So what will happen? And this is actually protocol.
Second question. Oh, Michael, you get 2 questions. All right.
I am not going to keep my residents in danger. I will send a resident right away immediately. I'm not a hospital. Even if we are trying to be a hospital, we are not. And he will get better help in the hospital. I will test all my residents. I will test all my employees. I will test all, because we do have testing. We can do it in 15 minutes actually right now. So, and I will be making sure that actually what will happen, we will be quarantining ourselves in the facility. So I will move to my facility because I always have right now, like even now I have empty room. Even I can bring right now residents, but I am not, because I wanted to keep that room. God forbid something happened, I need to stay somewhere. I can stay on the floor because I got mattresses and everything ready. But I keep that person. I mean, I would stay there.
Are your residents using telehealth at all? Are they speaking to doctors on
Yes,
the phone?
yes, we are, and actually it's very big right now. And this is what when in March it started, I actually made a team meeting with all my doctors, nurses, and we actually did that. Especially, we didn't know for how long it will be, and we had to set up a plan. And this was a part of the plan. We had a tablet, and my resident had to see visually the doctor, and they would talk to them, and they would ask questions. And if they need blood work or something, so it would be everything accessible. But unfortunately, even till now, a laboratory comes in the facility. They don't even come in the facility. They still stay outside, and we take one person, one resident per time to do even lab work if we have to.
I asked you this question before, and Karen asked this question. I was surprised when we got on the meeting earlier that the rules are slack and getting more slack when the COVID cases around the country are going up. Do you think they're going to reverse it, or do you think we're just going to be hoping that everybody does what they're supposed to do?
Well, I hope for the best, and I hope that especially it's like 8 months past, and we all already know a lot. It's doable, because you have to put your heart, and it will be.
So you think even unless there's a real, God forbid, a real, flood, that you guys are now have it under control?
We have it under control. I mean, I cannot talk on behalf of everybody. I'm talking on behalf of myself. I learned so much myself. I had to, because I didn't have a choice. And I know that I know right now much more than I did know back in February or March. And I know that I know the steps that we can keep our residents safe. I know them. And everybody just have to do the same thing. Wash their hands, cover your mouth, cover your nose, and
if the numbers went up, you would probably require more COVID tests.
Well, believe it or not, what I would do, I do test even right now. Even I don't need to, because we don't require right now. But at least once a month, I do it, like for to my sake. Like I wanted to be safe too, like mentally, because I have so much on my head. I wanted just to be like relaxed a little bit. Even just once a month, I do testing, and I feel so good when it's negative.
Okay, so I think I got all the questions. Let me just make sure, because I skipped around a little bit, because Michael threw me off. He asked 2 questions, and that's not, threw me off a little.
The girl has stated
one new message. Let me see what that is.
Well,
the governor, I don't want to get political. The governor said he's not going to go back, and he's not going to go back. And so we're going to have to do what we have to do to stay safe.
Right, and again, it's everybody had this, like, unfortunately, that lessons that nobody wanted to learn. But even right now, hospitals, and they know that before they didn't know what to do, they put this people on ventilators, and they couldn't take them off from ventilators. Right now, it's probably a different protocol. I'm not a doctor, and I don't work in the hospital, but now I just because from the experience, what I observed and what I see, what I read, that right now, again, more treatments available, and
Michael's concerned that any loosening up is going to be a big threat to the facilities. And
we are not loosening up. Even right now, actually, our residents can go out, okay? And I had very honest conversation with them. I said, okay, you can go to visit your mother. You can go to visit your family. But do you want to do that? Do you want to, God forbid, like make your mother sick? Because I have my resident, she's, her mother is 97 years old. And definitely she wants to see her because she's in the house. But I just have very good conversation and say, okay, it's not safe yet.
You're keeping the politics obviously out of this conversation. You're just talking about safety.
I am because to me it's politics. It's a human beings, and I have to help them. That's it.
All right. So we're going to end now. Let me just again tell you, thank Ella Furman from Golden Age Manor Assisted Living Facility for the phenomenal information she gave us today. I'm Alice Reiter Feld. Again, I'm an elder law attorney. If you need anything in that regard, please feel free to give me a call, and we will keep you posted about more events that we are going to be having. So thank you again, Ella, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Everybody for coming.
Thank you. Have a good
You
evening.
too.